Have you ever imagined going to watch an NFL game, attending a concert by a global artist, or walking through one of California's most famous tourist destinations? Then, only a few minutes later, standing in front of rows of tents stretching across the sidewalk? Not because you took a wrong turn, but because that is the reality in many parts of California. In a state with the largest economy in the United States and a global center of technology, entertainment, and sports, the homelessness crisis has grown in some of the most visible places. This contrast is what makes California one of the most unique and complicated places in America. With a capacity of more than 70,000 spectators and construction costs reaching around $5 billion, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood is one of the most expensive and modern stadiums in the world. Ahead of the 2022 Super Bowl, public attention turned to several homeless encampments around Century Boulevard, Manchester Boulevard, and corridors near Interstate 405. Local officials carried out large-scale encampment clearings before the event took place. That move sparked debate because many people felt the cleanup focused more on beautifying the area for visitors than on permanently solving the root causes of homelessness. Although the area directly around the stadium is now kept clean, homelessness has not truly disappeared. Oakland Coliseum was once home to legendary sports teams such as the Oakland Raiders, Oakland Athletics, and Golden State Warriors. Interestingly, the area directly around the stadium is usually not the center of large homeless encampments. Instead, encampments are more often found in nearby corridors, especially along Hegenberger Road, Leet Drive, and areas beneath Interstate 880. For years, these locations have held tents, RVs, and shifting emergency settlements that change whenever the city carries out enforcement. The presence of wide roads, empty lots, and industrial zones around Hegenberger Road and Leet Drive makes this area a frequent destination for unhoused people looking for shelter. Standing above Chavez Ravine since 1962, Dodger Stadium is the largest baseball stadium by capacity in Major League Baseball and the proud home of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But only a few minutes from the stadium gates, there are neighborhoods that have struggled with homelessness for years. One of the best-known locations is Echo Park, especially around Echo Park Lake, Glendale Boulevard, and the Alvarado Street corridor. This area drew national attention when hundreds of tents filled the park from 2020 to early 2021. Although the government later cleared the encampment and revitalized the park, its residents did not truly disappear. Many moved to sidewalks, under bridges, and road corridors around Echo Park and other Los Angeles neighborhoods. Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara is home to the San Francisco 49ers and one of the most modern stadiums in the United States. Surrounded by Silicon Valley's business and technology districts, the area around the stadium looks orderly and is almost never filled with large homeless encampments. However, only about 15 to 20 minutes away by car, there is one of the best-known homelessness hotspots in the San Jose area. That location is the Guadalupe River Trail, especially along Guadalupe River Park near West Taylor Street, Coleman Avenue, and several sections beneath overpasses. For years, this corridor has been known as one of the largest encampment sites in Silicon Valley. Ironically, this happens in the middle of one of the wealthiest regions in the world. San Jose is the heart of Silicon Valley, home to giant technology companies. Yet its average home price has reached around $1.4 million. Located in East Village, this stadium is surrounded by modern apartments, restaurants, hotels, and busy nightlife. But unlike many other stadiums, visitors around Petco Park do not have to walk far to see the effects of the homelessness crisis that has long challenged San Diego. The area most often linked to this issue is East Village, especially along Commercial Street, Imperial Avenue, 16th Street, 17th Street, and around 14th Street. Sidewalks on several of these streets are often filled with tents, personal belongings, and vehicles used as temporary housing. Although the city regularly carries out enforcement and opens new shelter locations, encampments often return to the same places or shift a few blocks away from the previous area. Unlike most other areas that only have several encampment points, Skid Row has grown over decades into the largest and most well-known homeless community in Los Angeles. This area stretches around East 5th Street, East 6th Street, San Pedro Street, Town Avenue, and Crocker Street. Along these blocks, sidewalks are almost always filled with tents, carts carrying personal belongings, and different forms of emergency shelter. Various social organizations, soup kitchens, health clinics, and homeless service centers are also concentrated in this area. So many people who have lost housing choose to stay in Skid Row because help is easier to access. Unfortunately, all of this happens in one of the cities with the highest property values in the United States. Average home prices in Los Angeles have now passed $1 million, while rents keep rising, and the supply of affordable housing remains far below what is needed. Next is the Tenderloin. The heart of this district sits around Eddy Street, Turk Street, Golden Gate Avenue, Jones Street, and Leavenworth Street. Walking through these blocks, scenes of sidewalk tents, people living in public spaces, and open drug transactions are not unusual. What makes this situation even more ironic is its location in one of the wealthiest cities in the world. San Francisco has average home prices of around $1.4 million, while apartment rents are among the highest in America. In a city home to many billionaires and trillion-dollar technology companies, thousands of people still sleep on sidewalks or inside tents every night. The Tenderloin is not just an area with a high number of unhoused people. Every year, millions of tourists come to Hollywood Boulevard to see the Hollywood Walk of Fame, take photos in front of the TCL Chinese Theater, or attend film screenings in the heart of America's entertainment industry. But within only a few blocks, the atmosphere can change sharply. Behind giant billboards and rows of souvenir shops, this area is also one of the most visible homelessness points in Los Angeles. The highest concentrations of unhoused people are often found around Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street, Argyle Avenue, Ivar Avenue, and the corridor beneath the US 101 overpass near Cahuenga Boulevard. In addition, areas around Selma Avenue, Yucca Street, and the entrance to Hollywood/Vine Metro Station are also often filled with tents or people living in their vehicles. These locations become gathering points because they are close to public transportation, soup kitchens, social service centers, and organizations that provide food and basic assistance. MacArthur Park more often appears in the news for very different reasons. For many Los Angeles residents, the park's name is closely tied to one of the city's most visible homelessness hotspots. The areas most often filled with tents are along Alvarado Street, Wilshire Boulevard, West 6th Street, and West 7th Street, including the area around Westlake/MacArthur Park Metro Station. From morning until night, sidewalks around the park are often filled with carts holding personal belongings, emergency tents, and people seeking shade beneath the park's trees. The area around the park is also one of the most frequent targets of encampment clearing operations by the Los Angeles government. However, as happens in many other parts of the city, tents often return because living costs are high and affordable housing options remain limited. There are not many places in California as iconic as Venice Beach Boardwalk. Behind its lively entertainment atmosphere, Venice Beach was also once one of the most famous centers of the homelessness crisis in the United States. The highest concentration of unhoused people was most often found along Oceanfront Walk, especially around Rose Avenue, Windward Avenue, Horizon Avenue, and the area near Venice Recreation Center. In 2021, the Los Angeles government launched a major operation to clear the area and move many residents into shelters or temporary housing. Since then, the number of tents on the boardwalk has dropped sharply. However, the crisis has not truly ended. In the middle of San Francisco's government buildings, Civic Center Plaza presents a scene that is hard to find in many other major American cities. The highest concentrations of unhoused people are often found around UN Plaza, United Nations Plaza, Hyde Street, Leavenworth Street, Golden Gate Avenue, and Market Street, which connects Civic Center with the Tenderloin. Park benches, public transit stops, and sidewalks around Civic Center/UN Plaza, BART Station, are often filled with tents, carts holding personal belongings, and people living in public space. Civic Center Plaza shows a striking irony. On one side, this area is where many policies to address the housing and homelessness crisis are created. But on the other side, directly in front of grand government buildings, that same crisis remains visible every day. Stretching more than 5 kilometers from the Embarcadero area to Twin Peaks, Market Street is the main artery of San Francisco. But Market Street is also one of the corridors most often linked to the homelessness crisis. People living without permanent housing, carts filled with personal belongings, and groups gathering on sidewalks are scenes that can be found almost every day. What makes Market Street so unique is how quickly the contrast appears, sometimes within only a few steps. On one side stand technology company offices, luxury hotels, shopping centers, and the historic F Market and wharves streetcars filled with tourists. But only a few meters from storefront windows or streetcar stops, visitors can see people sleeping on sidewalks or spending their entire day in public space. Stretching more than 30 miles through Orange County, the Santa Ana River Trail was originally designed as a biking and walking path connecting multiple cities to the Pacific coast. However, for years, parts of this trail became known as the site of one of the largest homeless encampments in Southern California history. At its peak in 2017 to 2018, more than 700 unhoused people lived along this river corridor. Hundreds of tents, makeshift structures, bicycles, and vehicles filled the riverbanks for several kilometers, making it one of the largest homeless settlements Orange County had ever seen. The situation eventually pushed local officials to carry out a large-scale operation in 2018 after a court ruling required shelter options to be provided before relocation could take place. With an area of more than 1,200 acres, Balboa Park is not only San Diego's largest park, but also one of the most iconic public spaces in the United States. Unlike East Village, where tents often fill sidewalks, unhoused people in Balboa Park are more spread out in areas hidden from crowds. The most frequently noted spots are around Pershing Drive, 6th Avenue, Florida Drive, State Route 163, and several canyons and wooded areas on the park's eastern side. The tree-filled and brushy terrain makes some parts of the park a relatively hidden shelter compared with downtown. Balboa Park shows an unusual contrast. On one side, tourists spend time enjoying world-class museums, art performances, and beautiful botanical gardens. On the other side, only a few hundred meters from the main visitor paths, there are areas that for years have served as survival spaces for people without housing. People's Park in Berkeley is known for its long history as a symbol of activism, civil freedom, and shelter for unhoused people. This park, about 2.8 acres in size, drew national attention after the People's Park riots in 1969, when clashes between protesters and authorities killed one person and injured dozens more. Since then, the park has carried an identity very different from ordinary city parks. Unlike encampments under freeways, People's Park offered easier access to free food, social services, soup kitchens, and various humanitarian organizations operating around the University of California, Berkeley campus. However, that situation changed sharply in recent years. After years of legal debate and protest, most of People's Park was finally closed for the construction of a student housing complex and supportive housing for low-income residents.